to the landing strip with Nik Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the landing strip, presented by From Financial. After the Winnipeg Jets drop their second game out of 3 this weekend, they beat Calgary on Friday, which we didn't do a show for. Utah stays hot, wins their 7th straight. This one a 3-2 hockey game in Winnipeg. We're here to chat about it. I see there's some comments in the YouTube chat we're going to get to as we get going here. Mikey, how you doing on this Sunday evening, buddy?
You know, peek behind the curtain, fighting off some type of flu, bug, some type of thing. So, that side of it not doing super hot, but got to watch this Jets game today, and it was a fun game overall. You know, there was chances back and forth, a lot of Connor Hellebuck, which I always like to see. Not the result we wanted, not the result the Jets would have liked to have seen after losing that first game there, but. You know, we'll get into all the minutia of it. We've got a lot of comments already on YouTube. We've got some on Facebook, so we can see the chat's fired up. So I'm excited.
All right, well, we'll kick it off as we usually do before getting into all that. What was your big takeaway from the Jets versus Utah today?
The Jets need to every day thank their lucky stars that Connor Hellebuck puts on a Winnipeg Jets sweater, because man, that's he's such a big part of this team on a night where, Utah, they're on fire, right? They came into this one on a quite a heater, not only winning games, how they were winning the games, right? Tons of goals being scored. This could have been an absolute slaughter fest if not for the stylings of Connor Hellebuck a few times tonight. So he was able to keep it close, let the Jets have a chance at this one. And even though that it kind of fell apart late there for the Jets, it just reminded me how lucky we are that number 37 puts on a Jet sweater.
All right, so we have some different takes on this one, so I'm excited to see where the show goes, because I don't think a slaughtering is fair on this one. My big takeaway is, I guess, the pace I thought was obvious in this one. I thought the Jets did a pretty good job early controlling the pace with Utah. I thought the first period actually was a really good period. From my takeaway, I thought this game was pretty close to 50-50, but Utah was able to capitalize on their big moments that sometimes were self-inflicted, especially on that game winner from Tanner Pearson and Hayden Fleury. Some not big moments from Luke Shannon when you're addressing a decor like this, given some of the injuries. I see Sandberg people wishing for Sandberg back. You're going to have your issues. I think this was a game where you saw it felt like it was a 50-50 game that all of a sudden it really felt like the Winnipeg Jets, especially as this game got late, we're going to need another power play to get on the board, though. The lack of being able to score down the lineups catching up to them in a game like this, I think. You get a goal from Mark Scheifele on the power play. You get a goal from Dylan DeMello on a clapper that Kyle Connor, with a great back check, starts that whole play, strips it, goes the other way. But you're not getting much else from outside the top of that lineup.
Yep.
And then Utah, on the other hand, were able to get goals from both their top 6 units. And that's the difference in this one, right? So I thought this was a game where you're seeing a bit of a young Utah team starting to step into their own here. They're the type of team I was worried about with the current iteration of the Jets because of their ability to score over a few different lines here. And we know that the Jets, that's where they lack a bit. The pace is also a bit of a concern given what Utah throws at you. Like, it seemed like every time in the neutral zone, as soon as Utah would turn it over, they're flying up the other way. I thought they did a pretty good job of controlling the zone time. But on the same hand, I thought the Jets defensively didn't give up. I don't think it was that drastic of a difference in what they were giving up. I thought they actually created well offensively today. When you look at the looks they were getting, there was a lot from that slot, a lot of pad saves from Vanacek that the Jets were actually getting to those rebounds. I still don't know how that one where they got 3 whacks that it didn't go in. But I thought this was a pretty evenly matched game where you saw Utah's skill and speed able to bring them home with a W. So I didn't see a throttling on this night.
No, but I feel like it could have been. It could have gone down that road if you get behind early. They've just been scoring in bunches, and if it's not even after the first period, if you're going into that second period down a couple, I feel like it could have spiraled, especially with how not great of a second period that we kind of saw, right? So it ended up staying pretty close, but again, I kind of chalk that up to Connor Hellebuck, especially when you saw some of the brain farts that were coming out of your bottom pairing tonight.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things we saw. Colin Miller get in for Luke Shen on Friday, though Colin Miller, from what I could see from that game, didn't have his best showing, and in his spot, he kind of needs to keep going.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was another banner night for Luke Shen, who gets caught going for that change that creates that 2-on-1 against Stan that they capitalize on.
Oof.
He makes that bad pass along the wall that
Oh.
creates that long fourth line shift
Yeah.
in their own zone before taking that power play. Without Dylan Sandberg, but also what's going on that third pair, not pretty for the Winnipeg Jets right now.
No, you went into a team up against a team that's using speed, right? This Utah team is fast. They like to skate. They like to skate with the puck. They're going to make you chase them, and to put Luke Shen out there against them, even if Colin Miller didn't have the best gaming, the other night, he still is going to give you a dimension of the game that Shen just isn't right now. And to put him out there against a team that is this fast just didn't make any sense to me.
Let's go to the chat here, jump around a few things. Gilbert Marion was the first one over on YouTube, so let's go to his to start. Sandberg can't come back fast enough. Too much Fleury, Shen, and Stanley. I like Fleury, but he's a third pairing guy. And I thought this was another tough night for Hayden Fleury and his early season. JJ Paterka just picks his pocket and levels him at the end there with a great pass to Logan Cooley. No looks to Dylan Gunther, who's gonna bury. Tough night for the D. We know this though. This is something like over on YouTube. BS1990 says the Jets were one of the top 5-on-5 possession teams last year. They're getting 3 great players back soon. They'll be fine. So that the early season for me, I'm trying not to look at the numbers game too much until this team's healthy. But if you ever were not sure how much Dylan Sandberg means to this decor, I think it's been on display quite vividly in this 6-3 start. Gordy Angus says Shen is so cooked. I know Lowry and Perfetti are out there, but are out, but neither of them are going to solve the lack of offense from anyone besides the first line. Let's start there. Let's chattel that about that a little bit, because I did think both of their losses this week. I think you look at the depth scoring and the fact that it's not there, and this team is very, very reliant on the big three: Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Gabe Velarde's line, and Josh Morrissey, who I would like to spend some time talking about today with that 300th assist. They're really driving the bus, and the Jets haven't been able to score offensively. Do you think that that's something Lowry and Perfetti are going to help chip in here, as Gordy Angus has his doubts?
So Perfetti for sure should help that out. As long as we're getting the Perfetti that ended last season starting out this year, that absolutely will be a nice shot in the arm for the middle six to get the offense going. Lowry is an interesting one. They don't tend to use Lowry in offensive situations, in an offensive role, or with offensive players. They seem, when they have the option to, they like to just have him in the past as a just purely shut down defensive type of role, even though we've seen the few times they've been forced to play him alongside, say, in Ehlers for, short amounts. It's actually worked out quite well, and it, helps produce offense not only for himself, but for his line mates. The thing I'm curious about is, one, when Lowry and Perfetti are both back, who between Lowry and Taves is going to be handling the quote-unquote defensive shutdown minutes, and who's going to be getting, a little bit more of the on-the-fly and offensive starts. I'm real curious to see how they're going to balance out the roster and the minutes between Lowry and Taves, because I would kind of want to see Lowry getting an opportunity to play offensive minutes with offensive guys. I think he gives you that there and kind of opens up the roster in that way, but they've just been really hesitant to do so in the past, and I don't know if they're going to move off of that.
Just gonna say this. It's pronounced Jordy, by the way. Sorry, Jordy.
Oh, Jordy. Got
That's what else. But I tend to be on the same spot as BS 1990 over on YouTube today, who says possession turns into offense. Once those three guys get back, it'll solve a lot of problems. I tend to be under that belief where you're gonna see Perfetti likely jump onto that Taves line, and that line's really struggled. I thought this was another example of it. Nikita Chibrikov, I don't know what he's bringing outside of trips to the penalty box, if we're being honest.
Yep.
But I am curious to see what that looks like. Perfetti did take a step the last year in his game in the second half last year. He could bring some offense to that group. Him and Taves could work off each other. But the other side of it is Lowry's line wins their minutes so much that we see this snowball effect with this team over the last few years where the more zone time they're able to create, then they're sending the next group out there. It's going to help create some more offensive looks. I do think the offensive generation and just how little they've created this year is the team's biggest problem. But I do think adding those three guys is going to be a huge boost to actually carrying the weight of the play the right direction. Right, you're going to be spending less time fixing the errors you're seeing in the D zone when Dylan Sandberg gets back. And you know it. You have him on your fantasy team this year with Neil Pionk. There's a guy who offensively will get freed up when Dylan Sandberg does come back. I do think even when healthy, part of this conversation is they will still need to go searching for offense as the season goes on, as you get to the deadline. But I do think those guys are going to help influence the game to play more, to spend more time in the ozone, and to get more offensive looks at least, which should turn into more goals.
Absolutely. I want to pull two quick comments from the chat and see what you think. Kentarian over on Facebook. He says, it seems pretty apparent that Chibs nor Lambert aren't really ready for the pros yet. So now what? And then Choices SDK, still need another quality second line winger even when 91 is back. So those two kind of go together for me, and I kind of want to see what you think. Are we going to keep going down, keep trying out those two guys rotating through, do you think? Or are they both kind of destined for the Moose now, and we're going to work with what we have once again everybody's healthy?
As soon as everyone's healthy, both guys are going back. So it's not really an at now what.
Yep.
It's you're going to get two top nine forwards back into the NHL lineup, and that's probably a good thing given what the state of the middle sixes look like. Though, with that being said, on tonight's game, this is probably the one group I've liked in the middle six, and I know we've seen some changes, but I thought that triple N line, the Nyquist, Nemestikov, Niederreiter line, when they've been together, I think that's been the best mix you've seen, where at least they're creating zone time, they're getting pucks to the net, they're not giving up much. So if that's kind of working, maybe you're looking at something around, I guess Lowry's back first, so maybe he jumps in the middle there. But that has been a group I haven't minded in the middle six. Finding Taves line mates has been a bit of a struggle throughout the year. But yeah, there's no real and what, in my opinion. You're going to get two top nine forwards right back into this lineup. You're going to see some mixing and matching to see what you have. The thing with the Jets, they've shown that they're a playoff team each year. And this year is the first year that they're going to have to experiment with their lineup a little bit.
Yep.
This is going to be a build-up. This is going to be a bit of a process. We're in the just win baby state of the season until they're healthy, and then we're going to see them build up when Perfetti, Taves, and Sandberg get back. I don't want to make any big conclusions until then.
Yep.
They're 6-3. The numbers don't look great, but they're winning games, and they're getting three guys, especially three guys that are strong defensively, and that's where some of the struggles have been.
Yep.
It's gonna be okay. We'll have a better read on this once they're healthy. Once you see what Perfetti and Taves looks like together, and once you have Adam Lowry back, who takes a lot of heavy minutes. I don't want to make any big sweeping conclusions on now what in Game 9 when they're 6-3 and they're missing three key pieces. It's kind of where I'm at this moment in time. I know it's easy, and we know a lot of this team, but those guys are pretty big to how this team is built right now.
Yep, absolutely. With Taves specifically, who do you think he has looked good with so far to start the season? I know we've been trying to find the line mates for him. Has there anybody that's kind of jumped out at you yet to say there might be something there?
No, not much
yet.
for me.
Okay.
What about you?
Not yet. No, that's the thing. And it's not that he's looked bad specifically. It's just that I haven't I just haven't seen any of the wingers really click in with Taves. So I'm curious to see how Perfetti slides in alongside there, if that's going to kind of remedy it. Because yeah, it's been a bit of a mismatch still.
Over on YouTube, Marty Thome says, is anybody tired of losing to someone named Yamamoto this weekend?
Thanks.
Tough
Great.
back-to-back
Thanks.
games for sports fans on that last name. Turd Ferguson tends to agree with where I'm at, says offense will improve when those three are back. Still holes to fill, but we will be better. Caitlin says we're last in 5-on-5 expected goals, which worries me is we're averaging in expected goals against even without Sandberg, but we're last in expected goals for. Missing 91-17 shouldn't be the worst 5-on-5 offense in the NHL without them. I think a lot goes into that because part of the Jets' problem is, despite being like middle of the road and expected goals against, how many times do they get caught up in their own zone or they're not transitioning the puck the other way?
Yep.
They're still spending time back there where they're not able to create. I think by having three guys that could push the game the other direction, you're going to see that kind of clean itself up. Not something I'm worried about at this point of the season personally.
Yeah, if we get deep into the season with everybody there and those are still the problems that we're having, then yeah, absolutely we can kind of worry. But like you said, it's going to be hard to judge them when they're missing the big pieces that they are.
For sure. So we'll see where that goes. It sounds like, okay, let's go here. I want to see your opinion on it. It seems like I haven't seen any of the quotes from Arneal, but I see Jordy Angus says, I just don't, I thought the second periods like the one tonight were gone, just unacceptable. I saw someone else in the chat mention Arneal was really upset with the second period himself. What did you see out of Winnipeg in that second, and are you worried about it if it's something you didn't enjoy?
I can understand why, again, I haven't seen Arneal's comments yet either, but I can probably guess why he wasn't too happy about some of especially the two goals themselves. I don't know. I had a real tough time with this one tonight because it looked better, I think, than what it ended up actually being in that second period. And I'm gonna really want to see what Arneal has kind of zeroed out on because I don't know. I'm having a tough time with it. What do you think?
I thought it was one of those periods where the ice tilted down towards my end, which is where Utah was playing in the ozone. The one thing that's interesting with Utah this year, and I think we saw some of it tonight compared to last year. Last year, they were that run and gun, one shot attempt, one look offensively, and it kind of went out the other way. And I thought the Jets handled them well in that regard previously. Today, they felt more patient with what they were trying to create. So I thought the second period you saw, especially at the end of it, a lot of ozone time from Utah where they were looking to set up offensively, especially in the second half of that period. I thought there was a lot of Utah really dictating that side of things, and they were a lot more patient trying to create. You got some big saves from Hellebuyck. I think of at that period, the one on, or no, he doesn't get it. Cooley misses the wide open net, but there was one backdoor on, can't remember, but I'm guessing just based on how I saw the game from where I was, that Arneal was not thrilled with the work ethic and the compete would be my guess. I haven't seen the comments myself, but it felt like one of those periods where the Jets were going through the motions and Utah was kind of dictating the ozone time in that one.
Yep, absolutely. Especially getting the two quick back-to-back.
Yeah, I want to touch on Josh Morrissey, though. I feel like he always... Okay, here's the quote. Choices TK has it from Murat. Arneal said the second period was the exact opposite, self-inflicted, just decided that maybe the first period was too much work. So it was about the work ethic, which makes sense, because I thought they had a real strong first period. I thought it was 50-50, and I thought I liked how that game would progress if I was on Winnipeg side of things at home. And then it did feel like that side, the tempo, the willingness to go the extra mile, like they did feel easy to knock off. There wasn't a whole lot of juice to their game in that period, so that makes sense to me.
Yep, absolutely.
I want to talk about Josh Morrissey quick here, though, before we keep diving into the chat. He got honored on the screen today, first defenseman in franchise history with 300 points, or 300 assists, sorry. No slouch of a milestone. especially when Big Buff was in town. And then when you look back at this last stretch, we give a lot of credit to the top line carrying the team offensively. Josh Morrissey, 6 assists on the on the last 8 goals that the Winnipeg Jets have scored. He's back to really driving the bus from that back end and really being the spark plug offensively. Hits the milestone with the assist, keeps piling them up. What have you seen from Josh Morrissey lately, and how important has he been in this start for the Winnipeg Jets?
Absolutely massive. The Jets have one real pairing at the moment, and that is the Morrissey pairing. And on it, we've talked about the struggles of his partner for a lot of the games prior. So the fact that he's able to keep it together like that and still have an offensive game, enough good things can't be said about it. You know, we talk about Mark Scheifele's Olympic aspirations. Josh Morrissey is on that team. That is going to be that's a no question whatsoever about it. And he's putting together just an incredible season so far, offensively and defensively. He's kind of a one-man crew some nights back there until they can get Sandberg back and try to even this out a little bit. And DeMello gets on the score sheet tonight, so that's a positive as well. But yeah, a lot of the nights we've had to talk about the struggles of Dylan DeMello while still talking about how good Morrissey's been. So yeah, it's been huge for Morrissey.
Yeah, on that quickly, I just wanted to shout out DeMello because I think the last week he's had the little subtleties in his game that you like to see.
Yep.
I think of him bumping off in the Nashville game. Was it they played Nashville, right? He bumped, I want to say, behind the net to create that Nemestikov 200th assist to Nino, and just got in the way. Today, there was a time when JJ Peterka, who is real dangerous. There's a guy that looks for a turnover and wants to break a game open with his speed,
Yep.
and with his shot. And there was a play in the neutral zone where he started winding up today, and he had DeMello by a step, and DeMello smartly just angled his body properly to kind of slow up Peterka, get the puck, send it over Morrissey, go the other way. It seems like those subtleties in DeMello's game that have allowed him to be Morrissey's partner effectively have kind of been back this last week.
Yep.
I wanted to shout that out. But yeah, Josh Morrissey, I mean, in my opinion, he is this team's best player outside of the net. And I mean, him driving the bus from the back end is no surprise after the last few years since Bones came to town. In the Calgary game, what a beautiful assist on that 2-on-2 where he makes the Calgary D-man look stupid. And he holds on to it long enough where it becomes an absolute tap-in for a guy like Kyle Connor by the time he receives that pass.
Yeah.
Josh Morrissey's just really grown into a special player for the Winnipeg Jets. And for him to have that milestone and the fact that he's going to keep building on that milestone, it's hard to imagine a D-man anytime soon coming into Winnipeg and being able to, over the longevity of a career, really do what Josh Morrissey's been able to put together here. And he continues to be a huge factor in this 6-3 start. 6 of the last 8 goals he's assisted on. It's been great to see Josh Morrissey in that level of mode where he's jumping into the play, where he's feeling comfortable. We saw the Morrissey spinorama last game. He's feeling it right now, and that's a big problem for other teams and a great thing for the Winnipeg Jets.
Absolutely, yep.
Back to the chat. Thank you to BS1990. He says, glad to see the facial fuzz is coming back in, Nick. It's been nice getting some facial hair again. Definitely been comforting this week, I'll tell you that. I like this from Choices. We're talking about what to kind of do with this forward group. And I had mentioned liking the 3 end line so far as one of the middle 6 groups. Here's a look for you. So the idea is Perfetti, Taves, and Blank, the 3 end line together, and Barron, Lowry, and Iafallo as the other group, and having almost like 2 to 3 second, third lines.
Barron, Lowry, and Iafallo. That'd be a mean line. That would be fun to watch. There'd be a lot of bodies flying around on that one. I could get behind that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Anything that gets Barron some elevated
healthy
minutes, especially if it's on the wing, if the responsibility of center's taken off of his shoulder and he's playing, wing and just getting to use that speed and that big body, I don't mind trying him out with different pairings in the middle 6.
So I'm gonna wrap up Morrissey talk quick just from the chat, and then we're gonna dive into Barron here. T. Pauly says it feels like a shame for me that the Jets haven't gotten JMO a real top pairing partner, sort of wasting his best years, and that's probably a
Yeah.
fair thought. And Gilbert Marion says Salmonson will be his partner soon, I believe. Bouncing over to Barron, because in KFC we trust, as we kind of got going here, said, are the Jets fast enough? Also, why bury Barron on the fourth line? Frosty Winnipeg also says, what's Barron got to do more to earn a spot on the second line? Where are you at with old Morgan Barron as each passing day and each game he shows a little bit more and more here for the Winnipeg Jets?
So yeah, we know now that there's, a little bit of an extra step to Morgan Barron's game now. We see that the speed is there, the control is there, he's got that big size. If he's going to be given an opportunity to use that in the middle six with a responsible center, I've got no issue whatsoever giving that a shot. I think right now the reason he's still playing on that fourth line is he's the fourth available center that they like at the moment. Until you get Lowry back and you get the chance to maybe move Vlad down or however you're going to do things, they're probably going to keep leaving him at that fourth line center role just because that's, on their depth chart, that's where he slots in and they like what he brings to that spot there. So I think it's just an availability type thing. Once you get Lowry back, it's going to be interesting to see who between him and Vlad end up as a winger on one of those middle six lines. I think that's going to be the competition. Me personally, I'd rather see Barron given an opportunity in that middle six with maybe a Lowry or whoever to see if we can use that size and that speed to an offensive advantage. But I'm real curious to see what the Jets are going to do and where they value their centers.
Yeah. To answer the first question, are the Jets fast enough? Al Camino
No.
replies they're not nearly fast enough. I do think pace is going to be somewhat of an issue as we get into the middle of the season and as attrition wears on. That's definitely not necessarily where this team's gifted at right now, but I also do think they play a pretty quick game when they're playing well and into their system and they move the puck well. They read off each other that they're able to play faster than they look when things are going well.
Yep.
So that I think is an aspect you're going to be looking for from a forward at some point. But with what's in house, Barron definitely stands out in that regard. And to Frosty Winnipeg's credit, Barron is noticeable every game. Today he has another penalty kill where he jumps the puck, uses that speed, gets going to the net, and has an opportunity. He had one where he created it down at my end around the corner, shielded with the puck. And that's one thing I've noticed. He really likes to shield it and drive, which is with a guy that size and that could skate, is going to lend itself to some good things the more you're trying to get to the net. Really like what I see from Barron, the individual player, though I agree with Caitlin saying the fourth line has had a rough go of it lately over on YouTube. There was even a spot where if Barron would have seen Pearson, I think Pearson had a step and he didn't pass it, and unfortunately it just turned into a breakdown in the O-zone. But Barron is a guy where I do think he has the toolkit, the size, the speed. He has a bit more offensive patience than normal fourth liners have. That I am curious to see what he might look like in the middle six at some point. He continues to impress. We saw him have a bit of a hot streak towards the end of last year. I think he's building off of that with hard work and using those tools he's been gifted. So I like to see where his game's going. I'm not opposed to him playing in the middle six. I think there's a player there. I really do.
Yeah, and if you've got Vlad Mestikov as your fourth line center, that's pretty good. That's kind of what you want. You want a guy that plays above that normally in that spot to just dominate other teams' fourth lines, to clean up those minutes after the power play's been out there and your top guys are gassed, right? That's a good problem to have. So if you've got Morgan Barron in that middle six and Vlad, batting cleanup, it's not too shabby.
Yeah, definitely could be an option. We'll see where it goes. We're going to, like I said, the first half of this year is a little different than years past. We're going to be probably seeing some different combinations.
Yep.
We're going to be learning from this team from mid-November on as they get healthy. We're going to see a new bottom nine as you insert guys like Adam Lowry and Cole Perfetti. For me, all this portion of the year was keeping pace in the standings. We'll have a much bigger grasp. We'll learn a lot more, and we'll probably see these different combinations we're talking about this year because they haven't been able to drill down real middle six success so far.
Yep. Totally agree.
Let's move into the From Financial Face-Off on this today's show. So we want to hear from you in the chat. We're also going to open up those phone lines after me and Mikey present ours. What was your From Financial Face-Off difference in this game? What led itself to the result? What was maybe missing? What did you think the Jets did well in this one? Let's move into the From Financial Face-Off.
Let's hit it.
Keep this show going.
Right on.
Right on, Mikey. Start it off. What's your From Financial Face-Off tonight?
As always, we have such a great chat because the conversation we were just on, funnily enough, was my From Financial Face-Off, and it was speed. We've kind of noticed this year that with the current setup, the Jets are still, I think, lacking some extra speed, and that's something that when we're going to be hoping for some reinforcements at some point, whether that's internal, external, whatever it is, that's a role that the Jets, I think, are still missing. Having that speed, being able to quickly transition the puck out of their zone. I'm really looking for that this year, and I still feel like the Jets are missing that from their game.
I'm going to go with brain farts. This was the type of game against the type of team that can make a mistake look a lot worse than it is, with the high-end skill and the high-octane offense that Utah currently has. They're getting scorching starts out of their entire top six, and I thought their top six won their minutes pretty handily when they were out there. I think the Winnipeg Jets played a solid but not pretty game, and the mistakes, their own brain farts, came back to cost them against a team that's able to bury those. So my From Financial Face-Off difference was the brain farts in this one, especially down the lineup and down the decor on this night. I wonder if we're going to get a rotation of the right side for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's at this point, I don't care what Miller does. He needs to give him a run of games. Just give him a chance to go in and play some games, especially against faster opponents like this. And yeah, like you said, you can't. Utah's good enough that you don't need to go out and beat yourself. You don't need to make sloppy mistakes and hand them opportunities. They're going to get their own. And yeah, that definitely cost them tonight.
Yeah, no, hard to disagree. So if you want to call in, now is the time. Let's start diving into the chat where Caitlin says the From Financial Face-Off difference was Utah was just a little bit better in every aspect of the game tonight. Phyllis says the game was winnable, but they slacked off. Julian says the From Financial Face-Off difference was the last goal was a result and not being strong on the puck, Fleury, and a poor back check, Kepke. Do want to point out Pearson puts Fleury in a real tough spot with that one-handed poke towards him too.
Yep.
So I don't want Pearson off the hook on that one. I want to add him to that group. Ticona Pauly's From Financial Face-Off difference was Cooley and Gunther continue to stay hot, netting the winner.
Woo.
And that was a pretty winner on the exact mistake in the last goal we're talking about. JJ Peterka gets on those wheels, physical. And the odd thing is he turned to the wrong side. Like he had Fleury. If he would have went to his backhand, he could have drove the net. He turns back into Fleury and has to bank that off the wall to Cooley, who no looks to Gunther for the snipe. Very pretty goal from the up-and-coming Utah Mammoth to win this one. Gilbert Marion also points out Utah's power play was very good. This was a night where I didn't mind both units. I thought the Jets power play continues to create quality looks when they gain the zone time.
Whew.
We've seen this week at times the zone entries haven't been great and you've had to regroup. But I thought they've created some nice seams for themselves. It ends up with Mark Shifley walking right down the line. Utah, I thought they created some good looks for themselves. And in fact, I thought on the power play they do score where Sergachev puts that in. And I want to say it was Keller with the moving screen.
Yes.
It was the two plays right before that were probably even higher quality looks for Utah. Cooley misses the open net. Connor Hellebuyck makes the big save. But Utah is still able to capitalize on that very next faceoff with the moving screen. Two very good power plays, both convert tonight. I like that point from Gilbert.
Yep. Ken Tarian over on Facebook says, what was missing? A huge lack of bite in their game and zero offense other than the shife line. No finish.
And that's kind of been the story as we've gone a little bit deeper into this. And I would expect that to kind of be the story here. Moving forward a little bit, they have a opponent that's been struggling to get off the mat next in Minnesota. So maybe that's a bit of a bounce back spot.
A get right game.
But yeah,
beat up on little brother, hopefully.
Yeah, I think things are about where you'd expect right now.
Yep.
I'm pretty content. Harjivan Parwana says from Financial Faceoff is team is old and slow. They need to look at injecting a guy like Salo for a couple of games over Shen. Imagine us being third in the Central and having to play Dallas or Colorado again. Scary stuff.
Yep.
Utah currently in first, though I doubt that's going to last throughout the year. Colorado off to a great start.
Yep.
Dallas is scuffling. Was Glenn Gultz the right pick there? Not too sure about that one, but that does feel like the most likely avenue for this team in the long haul. We'll see where that goes. Definitely potentially scary.
Yep.
We're a long ways away from that, though. I don't want to bring my head there yet. We got 72.
Oh, yeah.
Not even. We got more than that. We
70,
got 8.
Yeah, this was game 10, so we got 72 left.
Game 9, we 10 next.
Yeah, 10 is next.
We got a long
right?
time to worry about that.
So 73, yeah. Lots of
getting
time.
Healthy. There's a deadline. There's a lot of time before we start worrying about that.
How do you feel about Caitlin's thought here? Wouldn't be surprised if the just tread water until we're healthy mindset has slipped into the locker room. It's one thing for us to talk about it, and do you think that type of idea gets into the players as well?
I would doubt it. I think they've been off to a good enough start that I wouldn't want to overreact there.
Yep.
Definitely wasn't their banner night from an effort standpoint, but I think we need to see.
This was again 3 games in 4 days. This was just after a back-to-back. So like if they looked a little tired and heavy, that's because they were probably tired and heavy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was a team on a back-to-back in Utah versus a team 3 and 4 nights.
Yep.
Last year, if I'm not mistaken, teams were actually worse on the 3rd and 4 nights than they were on back-to-backs, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
So, hey, that's part of the NHL. It's part of what you'd expect, and you don't want to see what you saw from the second period. That's not me taking them off the hook from that.
Nope.
I just don't want to make sweeping conclusions based on one tough night from an effort standpoint. I think the 5-on-5 game and the struggles are to be expected at this stage until they get healthy, and I do think we've seen an honest work ethic from the team outside the sleepy second today. So I don't want to go down that path at this stage of the season quite yet.
Yeah. Today felt, like you said, more like brain farts than it did, giving into just, putting your hands up and saying, we'll see what happens. It just felt more like guys that are tired and your brain turns off for a second.
Yep. Harjivan Parwana says, sorry, this org has me unable to talk about the trade deadline anymore, a la Mikey. Hey, we're still a far ways away from that, too. We don't even have to worry about that yet. We're 9 games in. There's a lot of things that are percolating and developing internally before we even get there that we got to get sorted out. So
100%.
I just want to let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. There's a long year. We're not even in November yet.
We all want it so bad. We got a little taste of it last year. And we're like, no, we want the win. We want the points. I want to set records. We're doing it.
Yeah, there's a banner in the arena from last year that we get to.
And that's not going anywhere.
Yes, exactly. Julian says Utah definitely did not look like they were on the back end of a back-to-back. And, yeah, that's a team that definitely had quite a bit of younger legs in the beginning of a season.
Yep.
That's a team on their come up. A team that might be, we'll see. There was a lot of talk about was it going to be Buffalo, Ottawa, or Detroit last year. Ended up being Ottawa. I do think Utah's the best primed position in the West to make that jump. But they do have to prove it over 82 games, and I do think a healthy Jets team is a pretty good matchup for them as far as slowing things down and controlling the game. So we'll see how these two teams match up the next time they play when the Jets are a bit healthier in that regard. But that is a fun team to watch. I enjoy tuning into Utah whenever I can. I like the up-tempo, high-end skill they got within their top 6. That D-core is a bit better than it was last year, which is going to make the difference for them. That's a team that's going to be probably in the conversation with Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado over the next few years. So
Yeah, that's just what we needed. Another competitive team in the Central Division that we get to play against multiple times. This is great.
For sure, for sure. Um, Tico Napoli says they'll play to tread, not to tread water. Can't see pro teams not having all in, foot down, night in, night out. And again, I think just based on the last few years with the score, I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt.
Agreed.
Dylan Sandberg's their second most important defenseman on this team, maybe even the first, given the role he plays to kind of free up everybody else. Adam Lowry plays 2C role here and really takes away one line from the other team on most nights. And Cole Perfetti is the guy that this team really needs to take an offensive step forward.
Yep.
With the loss of Nick Ehlers and him playing next to Taves. We'll know more when those guys are back.
100%.
This was also a game where we were kind of talking about penalty kills off to a red hot start from a results wise. I thought Utah and their skill, they get the one goal, but I thought they were very close to breaking them on that Shen penalty after that long shift. Again, Luke Shen, not a banner night. I thought Utah did a very good job of finding the seams. I think of a play from Cooley to Keller to Genther, who just couldn't receive it. I do think I prefer the whole aggressive PK. I do wonder about some of these teams with the high-end skill and the seams that they are creating for quality looks. Like to see the Jets get aggressive with it the other way. We saw Shifley jump up on a 2-on-2. We saw Morgan Barron with the breakaway look.
Another breakaway. Yeah.
I'm still a bit nervous about where this PK goes without a little bit of tweaks on when to be aggressive, because I do think there are some big seams that they're giving up. And today was one of those days where they didn't get away with it on the one goal. But there were some close chances that didn't quite go in either. So we'll see where that continues to go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the power kill, as much as I like it, is a product of necessity at the moment. I think they look at the options that they have available to them and what that skill set is, and they're missing some of their biggest penalty killing minute people. So I think that's kind of why we've seen them go back to the the quote unquote power kill, using that highly aggressive system with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and working it that way. I think it's going to change once you get Lowry and Perfetti and Sandberg back available. I think that's going to be more of a situational weapon that they're going to be able to pull out and not have to rely on so heavily every game.
I see over on YouTube, Caitlin says, how does Colorado have 4 OT losses already? The Colorado Avalanche, one of 2 teams above Winnipeg right now in the Central, 5-1-4, lose again in overtime today. They've been in virtually every game they've played, and surprisingly with the high-end talent, like guys like Makar and McKinnon, have not been able to convert really well. Makar has a big turnover to lose that one against New Jersey today. Colorado's been all over it, but they've struggled to finish teams off in 3-on-3, which is not something I would have thought going in.
Yeah, would not have guessed that coming into the season. JM Justice over on Facebook. Game was good. Need to stay out of the box and play tighter D. We will be fine. Thanks for coming in, JM.
Gilbert with a great point says, come in bottom 5 every year for 10 years. Of course, you're going to get good talent. And the Utah fan base is a beneficiary for Arizona's woes. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
I see our boy Slick McGee over on YouTube joins the chat. Evening, guys. Just listening to the game on the drive from hockey. Just got back, shattered. Hope the team keeps scrapping for points until the 3 IRs come back soon. Good to hear from you, Slick, and I'm glad you were able to catch that one on the radio. Hope you're enjoying. Slick's trying to learn hockey and be a hockey player now. So
that's right.
Hope you had fun at hockey tonight. Caitlin says over on YouTube, how's Perfetti and Taves look together when he comes back is more important than Sandberg's return for me. I'm not panicking until everyone is back, but if they don't click, it's going to be a problem. What do you think about that? Is Taves and how he looks next to Jonathan Taves more important than Dylan Sandberg returning? I think this is an interesting debate.
That's good. I like that because they're both so critical to what the Jets are going to need to do going forward. We touched on it earlier. Who has Taves looked good with so far to start the year? Nobody specifically. There's been nobody that has really attached themselves onto his wing and shown, a connection. Now, again, this is early. This is tiny sample size. This is 9 games. I totally understand that. But those are all the sample size that we have of it. So that's all I got to go on. And yeah, at the moment, you're kind of just going to be hoping that they can scrape together something every night. Unless that, Perfetti comes in and kind of unlocks the game with Taves, which is going to be asking a lot, right? You're asking him not only to stay at the offensive step that he took last year, increase that step again this year, and then do it with a center that he's never played with before. Can he do it? Yeah, he probably can, but I don't know if it's going to be easy, how that's going to go. So I still probably put Sandberg's return as the more important one for me, just because you can kind of hide those middle 6 minutes a little bit if it isn't an instant click, whereas you can't hide not having a second and third pairing, which the Jets some nights absolutely do not have. So I'm still going to go, I think, with Dylan Sandberg being more important, but man, it's the Perfetti Taves thing kind of needs to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's even close for me. It's definitely Dylan Sandberg returning healthy. You get 2 functional top 4 pairs. You have a really good second pair that's able to win minutes against quality opponents with Dylan Sandberg back. And the way the Jets have run their lineup when healthy the last few years, even if Taves and Perfetti aren't clicking, they will likely become the third line behind a top 6 group of Mark Scheifele's line, which you're looking at for offense, and Adam Lowry's line, which will be taking away another team's best line. The Sandberg piece of all of this is just way too critical for me when, yes, this team's going to need depth score. Yes, they need the Perfetti Taves thing to work out to have bigger aspirations and maybe find them a winger at the deadline. But Dylan Sandberg and what he does to transform this decor compared to what we're watching every single night from the bottom 4, though, I thought this was a good night from Neil Pionk. I thought this was a strong night from Logan Stanley, actually, who continued getting pucks through to the net and didn't have any defensive blowups that stood out in a bad way. Dylan Sandberg, for me, is just way too valuable to how this team's successful to even flirt with the idea that he's not the most valuable piece coming back.
Yep.
Anything else top of mind here today?
Gilbert Marion's comment, actually. That was some terrible coaching in the last 2 minutes. How do you end up with too many men?
Yeah, clearly someone wasn't paying attention on that.
2 guys
bench.
jumped on when one came off. So, yeah, I don't know who got the wires confused there, but what is, again, like you said, just a brain fart, boneheaded, flash decision that ends up costing you.
Yeah, 2:15 left too. Just it was kind of the icing on the cake when you talk about the idea that maybe they took their foot off the gas. Just a brutal time to have a brain fart. We talked about from Financial Faceoff difference was brain farts. Having a too many men call down a goal with 2:15 left is just inexcusable.
Yep.
Inexcusable. Caitlin rebuttals says, it's more that we know how much Sandberg is going to improve our defense. It's not a question mark, but if the middle 6 doesn't get going with Perfetti, we don't really have a solution. And I'll say we don't have a solution yet. There's a long year. Things happen. Players develop. Opportunities open up. Trades happen. We're at game 9. We don't have a solution yet. And we don't know yet what those two are going to look like. Meanwhile, we do know Dylan Sandberg makes this a functional decor.
Yep, absolutely.
Slick also chimes in on that debate, says, I think you can shuffle Fetz around and JT after more reps looks a little better, so there's flexibility there. Sammy is just such a beast at shutdown D. He's number 1 for me, and I think Slick nails that.
Yeah, I think it's just easier to hide their struggles if they do than it would be to not have Sandberg. So, but I get where Caitlin's coming from. It's that middle 6, you're just kind of eyeing it up right now going, if the Scheifele, or not Scheifele, sorry, if the Perfetti Taves thing doesn't work, it's going to be, they're going to have to keep getting creative with what the solution is. So hopefully it does work, because we saw Perfetti take one of the steps last year, we think there is still more to his game, and there's no reason why he can't take another offensive step this season.
Yeah. Over on Twitch, Choices and Hulk are talking about the bit of the change in the guard in the West. Choices points out Utah just replaces the Wild, who don't seem to have it right now. Hulk says, not to mention San Jose, young guys on a heater at the moment. Anaheim slowly putting it together. That Pacific is also not a great division with what's going on in LA and Vancouver right now. Edmonton's having their classic early season slump, though I wouldn't worry too much about them. Wanted to bring out the San Jose comment because if you're looking for the early season, Timothy Liljegren and Mario Ferraro are available. And I wouldn't mind studying the right side with old Timothy L. Just found that as an interesting report from the fourth period today.
That he's available again. Yeah, I'll go back in time to the old hashtag losing for Liljegren. That'll be fun.
On the topic of versus offense versus defense and what's been more valuable, Hulk225 says, ultimately this team will, with the best goalie in the world, stopping goals will forever be less valuable than creation for this team, in my opinion. Though I will say I agree with you in overwhelmingly what you're saying, but I will say when we've gone to the playoffs and when that system gets pushed in the middle of the ice defensively, that's been a huge issue for them getting over the hump for both the goaltender and the team defensively. I do think that they could use a real net front presence that can move a little bit of mobile beef, as we were talking about last year.
Yep. Yeah, we want the size, but they've got to be able to still skate. They got to be able to still play. It can't just be that, but like you said, some mobile beef would be kind of really what they need.
I like how we talked about mobile beef all last year and then ended up with Luke Shen, who might be the prototype for the opposite of mobile beef.
Yeah, no, that was some standing beef.
Julian points out teams are getting younger and faster. The Mammoth are definitely a problem, and the Ducks look a lot better. The Ducks finally have an elite coach that has his own problems off the ice, but you're seeing some of that growth from that team that's going to have them hanging around in the West, I think, a lot later than maybe they've been projected to. On the Canucks, Caitlin says, incredible that Canucks already hate Evander Kane. What an absolute troglodyte. The fact that they gave up an asset to acquire him is pretty crazy.
Bananas.
Gilbert Marion says, I don't know who may be available, but Tippett might be a trigger for the second line. Definitely big on that idea, though. It sounds like with his start, Philly's not necessarily shopping him. Teams were maybe calling him. We'll see where that goes throughout the year because I don't expect that Philly team to really take a step. That's a name I definitely would love to see.
Yep, that's one to look at. But like you said, the better that he keeps playing, the more they're going to be inclined to not want to move him. So it's that's the exact type of player the Jets should be looking at, though.
Yeah, but hey, as we creep up to an hour, 9:11 p.m. here on a Sunday night, let's move into the to the 3 stars. Who were your 3 stars in that game? Let us know in the chat. Let's do the 3 stars on this night.
Let's hit it. Right on.
As usual, buddy.
Mine are nothing crazy tonight. Nothing exciting. Number 37, Connor Hellebuck gets my 3rd star. I thought it was a solid game from Hellebuck. He had some real big saves, especially a few in close to keep this from being, from getting away from them. They kept it right to the very end and really only lost it on a brain fart at the end. So Hellebuck, again, 3rd star. Number 2, I'm going to go with our goal scorer, Mark Scheifele. He's continuing to, pat on the stats, get those numbers up. He wants to go to the Olympics. I see triple digits in his future. So I'll go Scheifele, number 2, getting on the scoreboard. And number 1, Mr. 300. It's got to be Josh Morrissey, getting to set another franchise record, 300 assists. First person to do it in Winnipeg. So that's absolutely incredible, number 1 star.
Mark Scheifele, with goal number 8, stays in the rocket race with Jack Hughes and Shane Pinto atop the league. And there was no doubt in my mind when I saw how much space he had to walk in that he was about to tie that game. I like that one. Um,
Oh, can I cut you?
has to be on.
Can I honorable mention Kyle Connor, who's got 9 or 11 points in 9 games, on pace for a 100-point season?
You can honorable mention whoever you like, buddy boy.
Thank you. All right, all for you now.
I see over on Twitch, Hulk's 3 stars were Helly, JMO, and DeMello.
DeMello, yeah.
Rob Somerville jumps in late, says, good evening. Nice to see you, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
I'm going to go with, on this night, my 3rd star will be Logan Cooley for that no-look pass to Dylan Gunther for the winner on this night. 2nd star, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Vanacek.
Nice.
I thought that the Jets' chances that did come were coming from the slot rather than the outside, and he was quite active in that crease tonight. So you know what? I'll go Vitek Vanacek the opposite way with the goaltenders. And number 1, I'll go Josh Morrissey. He's been the engine from the back end. 6 assists in the last 8, including both primary assists tonight. Josh Morrissey will be my number 1 star. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you like, subscribe, let your friends, family, whoever would want to talk Jets, let them know. Let's keep building this show up as this year goes on. And we'll be back. When is it? When do the Jets play Minnesota? I know that's Minnesota next.
Tuesday's Minnesota.
We'll be back after the Jets play Minnesota Tuesday night. We'll likely be streaming the Jays game and reacting to that as we go as well. We'll see you Tuesday. The Jets leave this one 6-3. Some secondary scoring problems. Some top-end performances from their best players. They find themselves 3rd in the Central, 9 games in. We'll be back after they play the lowly Minnesota, their younger brother Wild, Tuesday. You have a great night and great start to your week. We'll talk to you later.
Good night, everybody.